Hey everyone, and welcome back. My name's Mackenzie, aka Astromac, and I'm an astrologer, and I'm here to share my astrological musings with you all. If you're watching this after it comes out, that means we have officially entered Aries season. So if you've been feeling that urge to go out and take action and take risks and just go after those things that you want, then you're probably feeling that Aries energy. In this video, we are diving into all things Aries, Aries as the archetype and Aries season in general, and how to best harness that Aries energy on your own journey through life. So, first things first, Aries is the very first sign of the zodiac. So, when the sun moves into Aries, this marks the astrological new year. So, Happy New Year! It also marks the equinox. So, if you're in the northern hemisphere, it's the spring equinox, and if you're in the southern hemisphere, it's the autumnal equinox. This is why Aries is associated with new beginnings and fresh starts and just embracing this renewed sense of hope. You can think of it almost as this opportunity to push the reset button every time the sun moves into Aries. And so, with the beginning of Aries season, it really signals the beginning of a new cycle around the zodiacal wheel. But just because we are starting a new cycle doesn't mean to throw everything out that you've learned over the past year. We're meant to take those lessons that we've learned and integrate them in order to keep moving forward and growing, moving in that direction that we want our lives to go. And so, over the course of the last month, over Pisces season, we were learning lessons that were encouraging us to find that belief in ourselves and have faith in ourselves and faith in the universe. Learning lessons of, knowing when it's time to just surrender and go with the flow. And so, hopefully, you did develop this belief and this faith in yourself over Pisces season, because this will give you that ability to move forward into Aries season boldly and confidently, because that'll really help when you're wanting to kind of pick up speed and pick up momentum. Aries energy is fiery and bold, and it really thrives on new beginnings. So if you have Aries placements, or even if you don't, this sign still teaches us lessons on how to take charge of our lives without overthinking it. It's also teaching us lessons of how to trust your instincts and embrace passion, and how to lead with courage. This is that time of year where it's like that inner flame might get reignited, like that spark just gets a little brighter. And so when we feel that spark, we just get more inspired to go take action. I always think of Aries energy as that do first, think later. So if you do tarot, it's very much like the Fool card energy, where you just kind of go for it because it feels right in the moment. So if you do have Aries placements, you're kind of like that person who acts off that instinctual impulse. Like, I want to try this and I want to try it now. Aries is just this very much in the moment sign. Because it is the very first sign of the zodiac, it's also associated with this newborn fresh energy, where we're fresh out of the womb from Pisces season. So it's like we're seeing things with these fresh set of eyes. So it can be that energy a little bit of oh, I want to try this, or I want to do this, or what's this all about? It just has this childlike innocence to it, where, that Aries, it wants to learn through experience. And this is the child that can't learn from taking someone's word for it. It's kind of it has to learn through experience. And so, they might be the ones to put their hand on the grill and learn not to touch the grill again. There's an impulse with Aries energy where it's there's no hesitation, and it's kind of pedal to the metal, full speed ahead. And I wrote about this on my Patreon a little bit, but Aries is very much symbolized by that buildup of energy and that friction of energy needed in order for a plant to break through the hard outer shell of a seed, in order to initiate that burst of life and initiate some kind of growth. Because at its essence, that's what Aries energy is. It's that initiation of life and that bursting forth of energy. And when you think about it, that Aries glyph, it kind of looks like, a little seedling coming out of the ground. So really think about that. Think about how much energy needs to be generated and how much energy is required for that plant to burst out of that hard seed shell and begin growing and initiate life. That also takes a lot of courage as well. Again, imagine being a newborn baby. The world is kind of a scary place when you're used to that womb space. And so Aries energy is exceptionally sensitive, being this newborn energy. But it also has this like innate courage and strength and this inner passion to just go out and live life. And that inner flame that they have, it's easily excitable. But it's because of this sensitivity that if you meet somebody who has like strong Aries placements, they might come across as like aggressive or angry or defensive. But it's because what they're doing is they're trying to protect their sensitive self, because all they know at that point is themselves, really. And that doesn't necessarily make them selfish or whatever, although I have met some pretty selfish Aries placements, but I digress. But it just means that, like, their view of the world comes from that perspective of self. Whereas, like, someone like me, who's a Libra Sun and Mercury, I kind of have the opposite, where I'm kind of viewing the world through this lens of other. And so Aries has this lens through self. And so because of this, this makes them incredibly independent. And they really make great like leaders because they're able to just like charge forward and be bold and courageous. That's why they're known as the pioneers of the zodiac. Like they want to be the first ones to do something or like, go into uncharted territory. These aren't really the people who are like looking around and seeing what everyone else is doing. Like they just don't really care. Like these are the people who are like on their own path, just like charging forward. And it's almost like this energy of like they just want to prove to themselves that they can do it. Like, they might say like my biggest competition is myself. And these are the people who like they can't help but be anybody but themselves. So they tend to be like super authentic and like true to themselves because that's all they really know. So they tend to be very like direct and honest and like to the point, and they just keep it real. So to some, they might come across as being like blunt or, giving those hard truths, but it's really coming from this space of like genuine authenticity sometimes. So I know this is probably a lot to take in about one sign. So let's bring it back to basics a little bit. Aries is a cardinal sign, meaning it's a starting sign. And it's also a fire sign, and so it's this energy of fire. So what do we get when we put those together? A fire starter. So you can interpret that however you see fit. Because remember, everybody has their own lens through how they view and interpret astrology. So there's really no like wrong or right way. But so yeah, they're the fire starters. So if you need a good visual, I like to imagine like it's that lighting of a match. It starts quick and you can't hesitate when you're lighting a match, otherwise it won't light. You need that speed and that friction and like no hesitation and that chemical reaction, that fire component. All of that has to combine just right to light that fire. It's also ruled by Mars, so it's an active sign and it's this initiating force. Mars is that planet of action, assertion, energetic exertion, and drive. And its symbol is the ram. And when you kind of reflect on it, what does a ram do? It charges forward with its head. And if you've ever watched a ram, like it just kind of like slowly backs up and it bunches up, and then it just like catapults itself forward with like this super speed. And that's definitely like Aries energy. And then even if you look at the glyph, like it looks like that bursting forth of life. It also kind of looks like the ram's horns, or you could even see it as like that seedling coming out of the ground. Or maybe you see it kind of like a firework and it's just like that burst of energy. I think it was Alan Oken who said it looked like a geyser coming out of the ground. And so that's what it is. Aries is that initiating force of new life. So Aries is known as the warrior and the go-getter and the fearless trailblazer. But, like every sign, it has its light aspects and also its not so light, like more of its shadowy qualities. So some of its strengths include being courageous, passionate, independent, confident, and quick to take action. But then on the same coin, some of its challenges might be being impulsive or impatient or quick-tempered, and sometimes struggling with like that follow through. Aries is a really good starter because it acts on instinct and passion, but sometimes that follow through, they're not great finishers. When it kind of like gets dull, they might kind of like move on to something different. They need like that fuel to keep fueling that passion and fueling that fire. So if that fuel runs out, then they're also, like that It's like a race car where like they go really fast and then they run out of gas pretty quick. Or you can think of it as this energy of like that 100-meter dash. They start with this like incredible force and like they're really fast, but then, they kind of fizzle out. So these are those people that they need those frequent breaks in order to get that energy and that passion back. So no sign is perfect, including Aries, but Aries energy just really teaches us how to embrace life fully and follow those passions and those things that ignite that spark inside. But also something that Aries and just like all of us during Aries season need to remember to pause and think before charging ahead. So during Aries season, this is that opportunity to hit the reset button and taking initiative of your life and, planting those seeds of those things that you want to create. You can think of this as like your permission slip from the universe to go out and be bold. Don't be afraid to make some splashes. Like maybe if you've been like sitting around and like wondering when's the right time and, just like pondering, maybe this is your sign to go out and take some action on those goals and reflect on like if you showed up confidently, what would that look like and what would that feel like? How would that change how you, move into the world? Release whatever that fear is and just go for it. And then obviously reflecting on like your passions and those things that really feed that inner flame and honoring those by taking action on them. Now, during this particular Aries season, we do have Mercury and Venus retrograde those first few weeks. So if you start something like brand new, it might need to be reworked later on, but sometimes it's worth it to just like try something and try doing something. So whether you're feeling stuck or you just need like a gentle push, Aries season is that reminder that life favors the bold. So what's something that you've been holding back on? Because now is the time to just go for it. So what's one bold move you're planning on doing this Aries season? And do you have any Aries placements? Be sure to comment below because I want to hear about it. And if you love astrology and things like self-growth and mindfulness, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell and do all the things so you don't miss any new videos. I think I'll be doing this series for all of the signs, so stay tuned. Until next time, love you, bye!